What's up, everybody? Disco Demonic Hydrophonic. Thanks for checking out my video. Today, my topic is going to be how to reduce or eliminate irrational fear in a practical sense without using magic. And I'll go into why and all that stuff here in a minute. Now, first, I'd like to elaborate on what a rational fear is and what an irrational fear is, from what I have learned. And so a rational fear would be something like, let's say you go to the zoo, you fall in the bear pit or the tiger pit or whatever, and then you're there and you're worried about these animals or lions or tigers or whatever, or these bears like attacking you, eating you, and killing you. This is a rational fear if you fall into a bear pit because, or any kind of pit, because you could die. That's not, and normally people don't want to die, especially that way. That's kind of a fucked up way to die. An irrational fear would be maybe like a fear of like balloons or something, or like a fear of tape. You know what I'm saying? Like some just irrational fear. Now, I feel rational fears developed out of like survival. Through evolution, we developed these fears because it's how we have survived. Like I think a lot of us people are kind of naturally afraid of the dark because you don't know what's kind of going on. We're naturally afraid of certain predators because they used to eat us, basically. And so irrational fears develop from like traumatic life events, or like your imagination. Like, so it could be a traumatic life event that then initiates some sort of process in your imagination to where you imagine like just the worst case scenarios in everything every time you see a balloon or whatever, right? And the reasons why you would want to eliminate this in the occult is if you're working on, let's say if you, after like a year of practice, it took me a while before I started getting any kind of results. And I don't mean manifestation results as far as like my rituals, like getting what I wanted. I mean as in manifestation, as in things like I started seeing shit, whatever. And so if you're afraid of this stuff, like the entities that you work with, like how are you going to work with entities that you're afraid of? So you have to eliminate these irrational fears. Now, irrational fears can be also developed from like years of programming and gaslighting, like let's say maybe from religion, telling you that demons are bad, blah, 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 and just classifying everything that isn't Christian or Muslim or whatever as a demonic entity. And in my personal opinion, demonic entities are not bad. They're here to help us. But because of the whole, and that's a whole nother video though. But anyways, so these are ways to develop these, why you want to eliminate these fears. One, I highly doubt that any entities are going to come to you if you're fucking afraid of them. They're not going to want to come to you because, you're going to think that they're lying to you. You're going to think they have some sort of agenda, or they're going to turn on you in a split second. You may think that any kinds of stuff, right? Or if another reason you may want to eliminate irrational fears are like irrational fears are ways of, now I have not been in a coven before, but I have heard of covens using people's irrational fears of things in order to control them and manipulate them into doing whatever they want, and just really basically using them like in a vampiric sense, like an energetic vampiric sense. And so obviously you don't want to fall for this. There's a couple of things that could happen. Either you become like them, and or you end up a slave to them for years, and you like really never advance because you're too afraid to take steps forward because fear is just pumped into your head all the time, right? And they control you. They basically like they tell you when you're ready for this or when you're ready for that, and so to me, that's not something I want. When I got into the occult, I don't want to be controlled. The reason I got into the occult because I didn't like being controlled. Some of the things that I was told to do uh, was you can do a ritual, which I still think this is a good idea. You can do a ritual to an entity, whoever your entity is. My uh, patron entity is Lucifer. So I was told to do that. I could do a ritual to Lucifer and use my fear as an offering. And you can do this. I think this is a really good thing. It builds like a trust thing. However, there's many things. There's a few things that it can do, right? So, however, the thing is, like in the beginning, some people may not really believe that Lucifer is an actual entity. They might think it's like an aspect of the mind. They might think it's like Lucifer is said to be that spark of intelligence within your mind. You know what I'm saying? That spark of intelligence within you. So it's like you believe that you're an aspect of Lucifer, or like even though there's many different belief forms, and so before you decide on your own like what you want to believe in, you may not have like a solid foundation to what you're actually given the offering to. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't have that, there's really no point in making the offering if you don't know what you're offering the offering to, right? So it's going to be less effective. Or if, let's say, you have a pretty sturdy belief system on what you believe these things are, or what you believe entities are, or what you believe, like, you believe in everything that and you have a pretty good solid foundation, yet you do not believe in yourself. Now, if you don't believe in yourself, this is another aspect of foundation. So you don't believe in yourself that you're capable of doing these things. So this would be another reason why you would want to eliminate, like you're scared that you're not going to do it right, or you're scared that you're not going to, whatever. So you can develop irrational fears because of this. Now, that is one way to approach it. But the reason like in the beginning I mentioned in a practical sense, without using magic, is because until you get to the point where you're 100% confident in them and 100% confident in you, what are you going to do about the fear? If you have fear, if that's an issue for you, which I think for a lot of people it is, right? So there's a few things you can do. The main thing is, like this is kind of like an overview, is you need to get out of your comfort zone is a way to start facing fears. Now, irrational fears usually build from either lies told to us or, like I said earlier, traumatic events that turn into fear when there's really nothing to fear. Now, let's say, for instance, I see an attractive female that I want to talk to. And for some of you, maybe an attractive male or attractive, however you want to word this yourself. So if I want to talk to her and I do not talk to her because of, like, I'm afraid that she's going to reject me or something like that. At first, I'm not really afraid. I might be a little nervous, but if I go in like right away, normally, and if she says no, hey, it's no, I'm sorry I bothered you, or you're like, but if you never approach this person, you're not confronting anything, so it builds into fear. So like first it could be like, hey, she's kind of cute, I should talk to her, nah. And then it turns into like, man, I'm really kind of a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. It depends on like your belief in yourself, right? So maybe like you have a higher self-esteem than I have in the past, and you don't think you're a piece of shit. Maybe you do. But then like all this stuff starts going through your head, and then it turns into a fear, like where you're actually afraid to approach this person. And that could be like, I don't want to say the love of your life, but it could be like, somebody that could be a really good friend or something like that, and you never know because you're afraid to approach them. And so when you're leaving your comfort zone, there's like a saying that I heard, and you can apply it to the approaching someone of the opposite or same sex, is that when you're approaching somebody in a romantic sense, it could be like, if you go into a situation let's say there's about a 50% chance you will succeed, and there's a 50% chance that you will fail, right? Well, if you never go into the situation, there is a 100% chance that you will not succeed because you never took that chance, right? So these obviously you want to be able to take those chances, and so other ways that you can confront the leave your comfort zone are exercise and meditation are great. You always want to engage in exercise and meditation. There's different exercises you can do, maybe skydiving. I've never gone skydiving. I've done parkour. Parkour, there's some stuff that's in there. It's pretty fucking crazy. So you train for that, though. You know what I'm saying? But there's some scary. It's still scary. I mean, I remember the first time I did a wall run. A wall run is where you run to the wall and I remember I jumped off a bench and then I hit the wall and I was able to spring up and I climbed this motherfucker. It was like maybe 15 feet high, and I remember people came out from I was at school and people came out and they were like, "Whoa, did you see that guy?" And I heard him talking because when I climbed up there was some steps and I went up the steps and I could hear him talking like, "Oh, that was fun. What was that?" They didn't know what happened. It was really cool. It was like a cool feeling, and so. So that was one way to and I was scared as fuck. It was really scary, but I did it. I fucking just hit it and went for it. You know what I'm saying? I confronted that fear, and after that, it was very rewarding. Another way you can do it, like I mentioned before in other videos, you can go rock climbing. Anything that really makes you nervous in a healthy sense, it may make you nervous to jump off a building or don't do that, or any shit like that. Don't do that kind of shit. And so these are ways that you can confront fear and help eliminate it in future instances. So whenever things start coming up, before it turns into fear, nip it in the bud. You know what I'm saying? I hate to use that old school ass type of way of talking, but just get rid of that nervousness before it turns into a fear. And one of the things that I learned, it was a saying, it was a quote by Thomas Jefferson. Now the way I learned it was a little different from the actual quote. And the way I learned it was, to become a man that you've never been, you have to be willing to do things that you've never done. Now, this really rang true for me because I remember that I used to be a real piece of shit. I didn't want to be a piece of shit anymore. So I knew that if I was to keep on doing the same shit that I was doing, I was going to still be a piece of shit. I had to change something. And even though I didn't know what that something was at the time, I didn't know how to take those steps. I knew that I had to do something, so I just started doing whatever. And I tried all kinds of shit. And the actual quote is, if you want something you never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. And it's, like I said, it's a Thomas Jefferson quote. And so I will leave you with that. And thank you for watching. And just, if you're afraid of something, man, confront it. Don't let fear beat you. Thanks.